Heraclitus says, "We are and we are not. No human has ever stepped into the same river twice. He is not the same man, and the river is not the same." Heraclitus. Thales stated that the ark was water. Anaximandros stated that it was apeiron. Anaximenes stated that it was air, and Pythagoras stated that it was numbers. Heraclitus challenges all of this by defining the arch in a slightly different way. You can trade anything for fire, just as you can trade gold for goods and everything for fire. Fire is constantly moving and has the power to change the objects it encounters. Whatever object it encounters, the fire will melt it into itself, but the fire itself remains unchanged. What did Heraclitus want to show? While studying philosophy in high school, I came across the classical idea that Heraclitus identified fire as arkhe. At first, I found this idea confusing. After all, didn't Thales propose water as the primary substance? Later, during my university years, I delved into the study of ancient philosophy, where I came across Heraclitus and his concept of arkhe. Contrary to what I memorized in high school, Heraclitus' famous statement, "Arkhe is fire," does not encapsulate the full depth of his philosophy. Rather than viewing fire as simply a physical element, Heraclitus saw it as a symbol of the processes of change inherent in the universe. Heraclitus emphasized dynamic being rather than static being. For him, arkhe represented a continuous cycle of existence and annihilation, highlighting the constant change of the cosmos. Although previous philosophers acknowledged the existence, Heraclitus was the first to propose that the fundamental principle of the universe could be the process of change itself. By reframing our understanding of the arkhe as a dynamic force rather than a static entity, Heraclitus asserts that the fundamental principles in the universe are not concrete physical objects. Rather, it is a process of becoming oneself. Panta, everything flows. We are born, we grow, we age, and we die. What is hot becomes cold. What is dry becomes wet, and what is bright becomes dim. All things continue to move and change towards destruction. If things are constantly turning into each other, ceasing to exist and reappearing, then everything is one and the same in reality. The way up and down is the same thing. If everything in the universe is always shifting and changing, then who you are today is not the same as who you were yesterday. This is because we experience continuous transformation over time. Although Heraclitus does not explicitly mention time, the idea that everything moves implies speculation about future directions. This, of course, raises questions about the nature of time itself. You can't enter the same river twice. This statement is indeed one of the most famous attributed to Heraclitus, although the exact expression is subject to interpretation and attribution. Heraclitus also attributed another fragment with a similar meaning. For instance, a quote from Heraclitus himself states, "We tread and tread not into the same river. We are and we are not." A more complicated statement attributed to Heraclitus is, "We are and we are not," which contains a significant paradox that highlights the idea that nothing remains perpetually identical to itself. In essence, he conveys the concept of flux by presenting the idea of A is A and not A, and constant change. To illustrate this concept, Heraclitus eloquently used the metaphor of a river. Imagine a river. Because its water flows endlessly, you will find different water every time you enter it. However, at a fundamental level, it remains the same river. This is because, although waters are always changing, riverbeds consistently shape those waters in a recognizable way. There is a measure or principle that regulates and preserves water in its special form. Just as a riverbed serves as a criterion for water flow and transformation, there must be an eternal principle that oversees this universal change. In essence, for change to occur, there must be principles that remain constant. Heraclitus named this principle logos. Translating logos directly into English presents a challenge due to its multiple meanings. The rich and nuanced language of Greek lends itself to philosophical discourse. Logo has several meanings, including size, order, principle, comparison, truth, reason, say. Let's take a moment to deviate from the current topic and explore something interesting. The Gospel of John begins, "In the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God, and the Word was God." Could the Word in the Gospel of John refer to the Heraclitean philosophy's understanding of the Logos? In this context, the term, "the Word," does not simply denote spoken language as we understand it today, but is in harmony with deeper philosophical concepts found in ancient Greek thought, especially in the teachings of Heraclitus. In Heraclitus' philosophy, logos has many meanings, one of which is word. However, it represents more than just a linguistic expression. It symbolizes the fundamental truths or principles that govern the cosmos. Therefore, we can interpret the Gospel of John's references to the Word as a reference to universal truths or divine principles, akin to Heraclitus's logos. What is the nature and essence of the logos according to Heraclitus? Is he suggesting an alternative basis similar to that of a god? Did he claim to be the source of these logos? How did Heraclitus respond to these questions? Through his constant emphasis on the unity of opposites and the underlying harmony of the universe, as well as his parallels between arkhe and logos, I seek to instill this concept in your understanding. What we now recognize as pantheism, a belief system, is essentially Heraclitus's cosmological worldview. He basically identified as a pantheist. Heraclitus' framework relates the concepts of logos, arche, unity, and multiplicity to the idea of nature. When studying Heraclitus's philosophy, it is important to consider the idea of divinity, in which nature itself embodies divinity. According to him, the various meanings associated with the logos, as echoed in the Gospel of John, demonstrate that order, the universe, unity, diversity, and God are fundamentally interconnected. If God, the universe, and the logos are synonymous, and if there is no distinct God other than nature, then the question arises, why do we exist? What is our purpose in this interconnected universe? Eternity is like a child playing with the wind. The kingdom belongs to a child. This sentence is what really amazed Nietzsche. Nietzsche compares the logos, which underlies the universe, to a child's mind. However, in this context, children enjoy playing alone. this can be compared to: imagine a child who builds a sand castle on the beach, only to suddenly destroy it out of boredom. Both Heraclitus and Nietzsche, through this analogy, stated that logos did not create the universe or us with a specific purpose. The universe exists without any inherent purpose. Just as a child spends hours building something for the pleasure of playing, only to suddenly dismantle it when bored, so too does the universe appear without purpose and will naturally cease to exist when the time comes.